I'm a 30-year-old man, and the past decade of my life has been a roller coaster of emotions, trust issues, and heartbreak. My girlfriend, also 30, and I have been together for 10 years. And for 5 of those years, we've been living together. I always thought we were building a life together. But lately, I've started to question everything. Our relationship has had its share of ups and downs. But nothing prepared me for the emotional turmoil that followed when I caught her cheating, not once, but 3 times. The first time, it was with a man she met at a party. I remember the gut-wrenching feeling when I found out. She promised it was a mistake and that she loved me, assuring me it would never happen again. Foolishly, I believed her. The second time was even harder. I had friends over, and when I left the room for a moment, she slipped out with one of them. I found out later that night, and it was like a punch to the gut. She cried and begged for forgiveness. And once again, I found myself swept up in her promises of change. The last time was with a woman from her workplace. I didn't know how to process it. The betrayal felt deeper somehow, as if she had broken a bond I thought was unbreakable. She swore it meant nothing and that she was just confused about her feelings. Each time she promised it wouldn't happen again, I felt the weight of my own hopes crushing me. Fast forward to yesterday. I came home from work, tired and ready to unwind. I had no idea that what awaited me would shake me to my core. I walked into the bathroom to find her in the shower with a man I recognized, someone from our local community club. They were sharing a passionate kiss. Completely unaware of my presence, my heart dropped, and a wave of disbelief washed over me. Her eyes widened when she noticed me. In that fleeting moment, she mouthed the word, "sorry," as if that would somehow make everything okay. The man merely shrugged his shoulders. And in that gesture, I felt a crushing sense of defeat. I turned on my heel and walked out, my mind racing. I needed space to think, to process what I had just seen. This wasn't just a simple mistake, this was a pattern. My mind flashed back to all those times I had given her the benefit of the doubt. All those times I had chosen to believe in her promises. And here I was again, faced with the same gut-wrenching betrayal. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. How could she do this to me again? Did she not realize the depth of the pain she was causing? I thought about the last decade of my life, the years I had devoted to her, only to be met with betrayal time and again. I took a long walk around the neighborhood, trying to clear my head. I replayed the scene over and over in my mind, feeling sick to my stomach. It was clear she hadn't changed. She continued to put her own desires above our relationship. I began to wonder if I had wasted the best years of my life on someone who didn't truly value me. As I walked, I considered what to do next. Should I confront her? I felt a mix of anger and resignation. The thought of sitting down and having yet another conversation filled with excuses and tears felt exhausting. What would I even say? "Hey, I caught you cheating again, and I'm not okay with it." When I got home, I sat on the couch, staring at the wall. I thought about our life together, the good moments, the laughter, the plans we made. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized those moments were overshadowed by her betrayals. Each time she broke my trust, it felt like she chipped away at my heart. I couldn't help but think of the future. Did I want to continue this cycle? Did I want to spend my life feeling like I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop? I didn't want to be that person who always second-guessed their partner's fidelity, always feeling insecure and hurt. After what felt like hours, I finally made a decision. I couldn't keep living like this. I deserved better than a relationship filled with secrets and betrayal. It was time to stand up for myself, to take control of my life and happiness. I resolved that I would confront her, but not with the intention of saving the relationship. Instead, I would lay everything out and make it clear that this behavior was unacceptable. I deserved a partner who valued my love and loyalty, not someone who treated our relationship as a revolving door. In the days to come, I prepared myself for the inevitable confrontation. I thought about how I would express my feelings, how I would communicate the pain her actions had caused. I envisioned a future without her, and surprisingly, it didn't feel as bleak as I had imagined. It felt liberating. I may have loved her deeply, but I realized that love alone wasn't enough. A relationship requires mutual respect, trust, and a commitment to honesty. I had given her multiple chances, and now it was time to focus on my own well-being. As I lay in bed that night, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I had loved her fiercely, but it was time to let go. I would confront her, share my feelings, and walk away if necessary. I owed it to myself to find happiness, even if it meant taking a painful step toward an uncertain future.
I left 6 months after my fiancé has been supporting me. I, F24, would like to preface that this is indeed a throwaway account. Without further ado, let's get to our story. I've been with my fiancé, M26, for over a year and a half. We got engaged 2 months after dating and 6 months after a huge falling out with my F24, falling out with my parents. M55 and F54. I met my fiancé, M26, Justice, at a birthday party for my little brother, M13. There was nothing much between us in the beginning as we were both in relationships at the time. Justice ended up in 2 relationships before I ended the relationship with my boyfriend at the time, M20. We'll call him Alfred. I realized, with no help from Justice, that my relationship with Alfred was going nowhere. Alfred had no drive or motivation, plus he was a little young-minded once I grew out of the college mindset. This is not to say I had my own shit figured out. I didn't. I had just failed out of college and was desperately trying to find my way back to a degree when I told my parents the truth and fell from glory, if you will. I know no better term for a child whose parents helped them with everything. Long story short, after I told my parents, they said some horrible things to me and kicked me out. Once that happened, I realized I had to clean up my act. I ditched my then boyfriend, Alfredo, and found someone else. I was never serious about Alfredo. It wasn't the kind of relationship we had. But nonetheless, I jumped quickly into a relationship with Justice. He was kind, empathetic, showed my love after I shared the relationship with my parents, and had a 6-figure business he owned. Life was good. I loved Justice. I loved he cared for me and my emotional well-being. Enter into the chat. The rest of the story. For 2 months, Justice and I were strong. I met his friends and his family. I even cooked them a meal the first time I met them. We had 0 issues. But within the next month that followed, there were some sparkly drugs introduced out into hangouts with Justice's friends. Eventually one night they convinced me to try. It wasn't fun. I won't lie. I quickly realized I didn't like it and told Justice that if he wanted that in his life, then he wouldn't have me. Justice quit that habit. Shortly after, his BFF, Lindsay, F42, began calling Justice about me, saying random stuff about me being a bad person and causing drama and whatnot. She was someone ill-involved, if you catch my drift. 2 months later, I tried to leave him. Justice had begun screaming at me, saying terrible and hurtful things during arguments just to win. He'd then show up with food or flowers as an apology. We lived together. We talk everything over and I let it go. I tried to leave him. All of 5 days. My bio mom, F54, had dug up some dirt on Justice just to get me away from him, and it worked. I moved back for a few days before I realized all she said was a lie. I also had several current issues with the relationship that plagued upon me to leave. Those included the rough, corporal punishment for certain behaviors, way he treat our dogs, the way he would push me around and fake wrestle me even after I said stop, and belittling my opinions. We went through our 5-day break, and I went back to him. I believed he could change, and to be honest, I've never loved anyone the way I love him. I traveled across the country to meet him where his job took him. I tried hard to apologize for the heartache I caused him while paying attention to make sure previous behavior didn't resurface. There was only one really bad fight we had after that. We got into a fight the night before my birthday. 11 p.m. I'm sure it was about Justice not being there for me anymore emotionally. How he told me he was tired of hearing about my emotions and so on and so forth. I ran off, and he cornered me in the bathroom. A high school friend of mine, Chandler, M24, reached out to me weeks prior about his own issues, and we'd been talking. With Justice's knowledge, since then, when Justice discovered me in the bathroom, Chandler was calling me, because I'd texted him some pretty worrying things. When Justice saw this, he demanded I give the engagement ring back because every one of his girlfriends had talked to others about their relationship with him. AD left. To quote him, he wasn't going to put up with his girl going to a different person about relationship troubles. Which on most levels, I respect. But I haven't seen Chandler in person since we graduated over 5 years ago. Please, keep in mind that in between in times I've told you that there were many other incidents where Justice belittled me and then came me back with an apology. Or sometimes where he was a jerk in an argument and never apologized. And let me be frank. I don't care about being wrong. I care about the person who says they want to spend the rest of their life with me, not treating me like they're madly, or even partially, in love with me. That being said, a year and a half into our relationship and I have to beg for flowers. I shit you not. A month and a half I had to ask for the flowers that sat on my dining room table 2 weeks ago. Not to mention, he's never liked me having friends. Right now, I sit by myself every day. All day. I just recently reconnected with some high school friends and it has been super difficult to schedule time with them. Justice will always say something like, "We don't get enough time to see each other during the week." Really? You just saw them, or, I guess you just don't want to spend time with me. I'd also like to be transparent and say sometimes after these are rebutted he'll agree and be courteous about it. I see any friend, no more than 2 times a month. Regardless, I don't go out, without a trust between us or me being guilted, more than once every 2 weeks. The rest of the time, day and night, save for 2 nights, maybe a week, I am alone, except when Justice wants intimacy. Then the night he wants intimacy I'm subject to enough instances to make an HR representative in a criminal telenovela fluster up. And after the intimate moment I feel used and discarded. There is no aftercare. 95% of the time I take after care of both of us. While I also did all the work to help him preform. To round this whole crap shot of a post out, I don't like his family. They give me an incredible amount of anxiety and stress, from Justice's mother, F58, to his extended family. They're all full of passive-aggressive comments and in complete competition with each other. My entire family doesn't like him and he doesn't like most of my whole family. And I'm talking about my extended family too. Right now, I do not work. Let preface the next paragraph by saying, I got my paperwork and won't be without a job for long. But Justice has paid for my life for the last several months. At first because I believed I was going straight to college and furthermore so I could have all my legal documents replaced in order to apply for a job. Which, Justice said he'd rather I not have for the ease of always having someone to watch our dogs. As of right now, I have no car, just recently acquired documents, no money to my name while we were in a different province. I had a job that I loved. Stressful as hell, but I loved it. Justice texted me saying, I got a job that will afford our living expenses and you going back to school. He asked me to quit my job and because I wanted to go to college. I did. He convinced me to leave my car, old and unreliable, with my family from the province. I gave him the title to my car, went to my GMA, and my BC, ick dumb place for it in my car but whatever, we moved home. ID lost my NSSC, another job getting document, in college. Then when I went to apply for part-time jobs, I noticed my BC was missing. Then Justice and I went out for dinner and my wallet went missing. Within 3 months, everything I needed for my own financial security, passport included, went missing. Without my knowledge, over the last few months I've been trying to get the paperwork sorted for myself. But also the last several months, Justice has seemed checked out of our relationship. My opinions are shot down. And I've already been told I'm not allowed to intervene on his family matters. I watched him scream at his parents. I've experienced him belittle my opinions in front of others. I do 90% of the cooking, grocery shopping, pet care, cleaning and laundry on my own now. I never get a thank you. I am never able to get a date with him unless I plan it. I can't get him to pick a restaurant to save his life. Much less sit down at one. He can't make a decision about anything together and when he does it's either a decision I have to go with or one he just automatically agrees with. I hardly ever get a thank you or comment on what I've done for him. But I also know I fall short in many areas.
I'm a 25-year-old man now, but the lessons I learned during my teenage years have shaped who I am today. Reflecting on my past, I remember being 16 and utterly devastated when my first girlfriend broke up with me. I begged her to reconsider, believing that my entire world revolved around her. It was a painful experience. And looking back, I can see how naive and desperate I was. Since then, I vowed to never put myself in a position of such weakness again. Fast forward to now, and I've had my fair share of relationships and casual flings. While each ending has brought its own wave of sadness, I've learned to accept them with grace and dignity. I was confident in my ability to love and be loved without losing my sense of self. I met my girlfriend, Sarah, at a social function related to our careers about a year and a half ago. From the moment we started talking, there was an undeniable connection. Our chemistry was instant, and soon we were spending every free moment together. Moving from casual outings to an exclusive relationship. Things were going well, and the idea of moving in together had been tossed around. Living in our city is expensive, and pooling resources seemed like a logical step. We had discussions about logistics, her apartment being bigger than mine, and the potential benefits of cohabitation. It all felt promising. Then, out of nowhere, Sarah expressed doubts. She said we were moving too fast and wanted to break up. I was taken aback, feeling like the ground had been ripped from beneath me. In that moment, I thought of my younger self and how desperate I once was. I calmly told her that if she felt that way, then it was best for us to part ways. What surprised me next was her reaction. She freaked out, insisting it was all a test to see if I would fight for her. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. I had no interest in playing games or engaging in mind games. The thought of going back to that emotional turmoil I had experienced years ago made me resolute in my decision. I told her I would box up any of her belongings left at my place for her to pick up. This wasn't an easy decision. I genuinely cared for her. We had shared meaningful moments, met each other's families, and spent significant time together. I believed we had a future, even if I wasn't ready for a proposal just yet. The aftermath was filled with accusations. She called me cold-hearted, claiming I was using her for sex. I knew that wasn't true. My feelings for her were genuine. I felt blindsided and hurt by her characterization of our relationship. My family noticed something was off and called to check on me. When I explained the situation, they seemed to think I was being stubborn. My parents suggested I should forgive Sarah and reach out to her. That it was just a moment of confusion. My younger sister chimed in, calling me a jerk for not taking her back. Yet, all I could think about was the pain of being that 16-year-old who cried himself to sleep over someone who didn't truly appreciate him. I refused to let that happen again. As the days passed, I remained resolute. I had made my decision based on the core values I held about love and respect. I didn't want to be with someone who tested my loyalty in such a harsh way. It wasn't just about this incident, it was about the underlying patterns that could emerge in our relationship. I took the time to focus on myself, to rediscover my interests and passions. Friends noticed my change in demeanor and encouraged me to embrace this new chapter. I began to realize that while I had loved Sarah deeply, my self-worth and integrity were far more important than clinging to a relationship that had become toxic. Eventually, I came to terms with my decision. I wouldn't be going back to the emotional manipulation that had marked my teenage years. I was a stronger person now, and I was determined to uphold my values. I had to remind myself that it was okay to put my own well-being first. Reflecting on it all, I understood that I had made the right choice for myself. Even if it hurt, love should not feel like a test or a game. It should be built on trust, respect, and mutual appreciation. Moving forward, I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that I would protect my heart and values above all else.